Hi, I'm Tony Rossi for the Christophers, and like most of you, I've been hunkered down at home, self-isolating during this coronavirus pandemic, trying to make sure that I don't catch any germs or spread any germs. But I realize that people still need a little bit of hope and light in their lives. And so I'm going to try and record some interviews on my laptop at home, and we're going to see how it goes. And today I'll be talking with actress and entrepreneur Ashley Eckstein, who's best known for voicing the character Ahsoka Tano on the animated series Star Wars: The Clone Wars and Rebels. Ashley's going to discuss her faith, what it's like portraying a character who's a role model to many, and her dedication to removing the stigma from mental health challenges. Stay with us. Christopher Close-Up starts right now. Hello and welcome to Christopher Close-Up. I'm Tony Rossi, and as a lifelong Star Wars nerd, it's a treat to be able to welcome someone from the Star Wars universe to the show today. Ashley Eckstein has voiced the character of Jedi-in-training Ahsoka Tano since 2008 in the animated series The Clone Wars and Rebels. As a result, she's become a role model to many for the way her character embodies courage, strength, and self-sacrifice. Ashley is also the founder of the popular fashion website heruniverse.com and author of the children's book I Am a Padawan. But Ashley is also a woman of faith who's a tireless advocate for mental health issues. We're going to talk about all those aspects of her life and work today. So now I'm pleased to welcome to Christopher Close-Up, Ashley Eckstein. Ashley, it's such a treat to have you on the show today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat.
Well, before we talk about your wonderful career in the Star Wars universe and as an entrepreneur with Her Universe, I want to start with a visit you recently made to Columbus, Ohio, and the new Big Lots Behavioral Health Pavilion there, because I know it's an extension of your advocacy for mental health issues with the On Our Sleeves campaign. So tell me a little bit about that and why you got involved.
So I have always been an advocate for mental health. What most people don't realize is that I actually founded my company, Her Universe, on the platform of anti-bullying. So many women and girls were being bullied and being bullied terribly for just being a sci-fi and fantasy fan, for liking Star Wars. And I knew nothing about making merchandise, but I started my company because I figured that if, women and girls had, let's say, a Star Wars t-shirt that was made for them, they would feel more comfortable to step into the spotlight and say, hi, I'm a girl and I like Star Wars. Because it's a fact that half of all Star Wars fans and sci-fi and fantasy fans are women and girls. And so I wanted to break that stigma. And over time, I feel like we truly have. And we've really helped with the bullying that women and girls were dealing with, because I just wanted to say that these stories are not just for men and boys. They're not just for women and girls. They're for everyone. Well, over time, anti-bullying is part of a bigger umbrella, which is mental health. And, our fandom community, I feel so privileged that people would feel, the safety, to share their stories with me. But, every event that I would go to, I would hear story after story where they would come up and share their struggles with anxiety or depression, or even the fact that they've contemplated suicide, all sorts of mental and behavioral health issues. And I just was shocked that, this was such, really such an issue in our community, and it wasn't being talked about more openly. And then I actually was cyberbullied viciously. I mean, it was really bad. Hundreds of thousands of comments, and I was the victim of death threats and anything that you could possibly, like any horrible thing anyone could say, I received, and over something that just wasn't true. It was just, there was no truth to it. And so, after dealing with that myself, I said, this is a problem and we need to fix it. And I'm not an expert in mental health. I, am outspoken about that, but I have a voice and we all do. And I thought, I can just start by talking about it and, help break the stigma that way, just like we did with Her Universe. I thought, well, let me take the same approach and help break the stigma surrounding mental health. Well, that's when I was introduced to Nationwide Children's Hospital. They opened up the first behavioral health pavilion on a children's hospital campus in our nation. And it's a huge deal. It's a hospital dedicated solely to behavioral and mental health. And, 50% of lifelong mental illnesses present themselves by the age of 14. Mm-hmm. So if you think about that, think about how many adults we can even save if we catch it early. And so Nationwide Children started a campaign called On Our Sleeves. And, it's because kids and teens don't wear their emotions on their sleeves. It's encouraging kids and teens and families to share their emotions, whether it's through talking, whether it's through drawing, but it's just starting the conversation. And I'm so proud to be a champion for Nationwide Children's. And, they're helping people all over the nation, even though they're located in Columbus, Ohio. They're basically building a blueprint for hospitals around the nation and providing information for everyone all over the world on mental and behavioral health. And they're asking people to break the stigma surrounding mental health with them.
Yeah, no, it's great that you're lending your voice to that, because if people have cancer or heart disease, they're not shy about sharing that with other people. But with mental health issues, there still is that stigma. So the fact that you're encouraging people, especially young people, who a lot of your fans are young people, to break that stigma, I think you're doing just a tremendous amount of good.
Oh, well, thank you. And thank you for asking about it, because just by you starting off this interview talking about it, you're using your voice as well. And I think that's what, even if we're not experts, all we have to do is just talk. Let's talk about it and say, you know what, this is a real thing. Just like you said, if you had cancer, or just like, you get a cold, our brain can be sick too. And
Mm-hmm.
we need to talk about it just as openly like this.
I'm Tony Rossi, and you're listening to Christopher Close-Up. I'll be back in a minute with more of my conversation with Ashley Eckstein. But first, here's a message the Christophers would like to share with you.
Building a life of character is one of the greatest personal achievements we can attain, and no amount of worldly success can compare to the satisfaction of being a good person. So how do we cultivate character? We do it by facing down challenges that stand in the way of our becoming who God wants us to be. To help you along the path, the Christophers have prepared a news note called Building a Life of Character. It's filled with stories and reflections to help you face adversity, practice courage and compassion, and endure life's challenges with an unbroken spirit. To request your free copy of Building a Life of Character, send an email to radio@christophers.org or call our toll-free number at 1-888-298-4050. That's 1-888-298-4050. We look forward to hearing from you.
Welcome back to Christopher Close-Up. I'm Tony Rossi, talking today with actress and entrepreneur Ashley Eckstein about her faith, her devotion to mental health issues, and her work as the voice of Jedi-in-training Ahsoka Tano in the Star Wars animated series, The Clone Wars and Rebels. You just mentioned being cyberbullied, and you're so associated with the role of Ahsoka. I want to actually just touch on something that's the opposite of cyberbullying, because your voice was recently featured in the Rise of Skywalker movie, and just on other issues lately, you seem to have gotten a lot of love through social media lately. Can you just talk a bit about what that means to you, about getting the life-affirming positive messages, and how that has maybe built you up and helped combat the negativity you faced a few years ago?
Well, that's a great question. And thank you for asking, because it's something I am extremely passionate about. When I first started on social media with Ahsoka, and then, shortly after with Her Universe, I said from day one, I said, my social channels are going to be a bully-free zone.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a no tolerance policy. If I see any sort of bullying, I will shut it down immediately and comments will be deleted. And, we fiercely police it too, because it's
Mm-hmm.
something that you constantly have to watch out, because you're right. There is a lot of bullying. There is a lot of toxicity online. But because we took that approach and that fierce approach from day one, our social channels are very positive and, very uplifting, very positive, very empowering, and very encouraging. And, I feel like we've kind of created our own safe space in a world that, there can be, a lot of toxic fandom. If you come to, my personal channel or the Her Universe channels, they're very positive.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not naive to the fact that the negative fandom is there. It's there. It's very real. But what I've seen, I've been on the front lines of fandom now, I would say for 12 years, like day in and day out on the front lines.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I've been very outspoken about lately is that I truly believe that the majority of fandom is still very positive.
Mm-hmm.
And that the toxic part of fandom is still the minority. But because the toxic part of fandom is, it's what, it's been such a talking point, it catches headlines. It's, for every 100 positive comments, there may be one negative comment, but that's what we dwell on.
Mm-hmm.
I know after being cyberbullied myself, I had all the support in the world behind me. And again, what happened to me was something that was very much 100%. There was no truth to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had all the support in the world. I had Disney and Star Wars and Her Universe and, my family and friends, they were all there supporting me. But trust me, if you get a message, and I don't curse, but I will tell you, I was getting messages saying, you are a piece of trash and you should just die.
Mm.
When you get those messages, it messes with you. It
Mm-hmm.
messes with your head. And so, I am very, very careful. I don't want any bullying on our pages, but I'm also careful of my words and how my words, I don't want to incite any sort of bullying. And so it's hard. I'm not going to lie. It's hard, but, it's worth it, because what I experienced and even what I experienced personally, especially recently, there's so much good online. So I'm not going to allow the negative to affect me from experiencing the positive.
Yeah.
Because what I've experienced recently is story after story of how people's lives are being changed and how people's lives are being saved by the good of our community and
Mm-hmm.
just by Ahsoka or Star Wars, or just even the community aspect of our fandom. And so I will continue to endure and fight the negative, because the positive is so strong and there's such an upside. So we can't be naive to the negative, but I feel, it's funny. I was just talking about this yesterday. I think of the scene from Rise of Skywalker where, Rey asks all the past Jedi to be with her, Ahsoka being one of them. And, Palpatine says, I am all the Sith, but Rey, defeats him because she is all the Jedi. And I feel like it is, to me, Star Wars is a story of good overcoming evil.
Yeah.
And, the power of our kindness, the power of our positive voices at the end of the day will overcome the negative. So you can't be naive to it, but I feel like we just have to, combat it with the power of the positive.
Sure. Well, that's actually a perfect answer for this show, because the Christophers who sponsor it, all our work revolves around this idea that it's better to light a candle than to curse the darkness. And you are lighting a candle, and you're saying it's, don't spend too much time cursing the darkness. You're focusing on the positive. So, I've got to applaud that message, especially as host of this show. I am talking to Ashley Eckstein. She's the voice of Ahsoka Tano on the animated Star Wars series The Clone Wars and Rebels. You can watch him on Disney+, founder of the apparel company heruniverse.com. She's author of the memoir, It's Your Universe, the children's book, I Am a Padawan. And I just want to ask a kind of a broad question, because we're on Catholic radio right now, and I know that your faith is important to you and your husband, David. And I mention that because you've been voicing the character Ahsoka Tano for, I think, close to 15 years now. And in its own way, the character and the Star Wars series have a moral and a spiritual dimension. You know, it's not a Catholic show per se, but I think we share a lot of the same values that are promoted on the show. And honestly, you're one of its heroes. So in light of your own faith, how does it feel for you to get to portray a character like Ahsoka, who can be considered a role model on multiple levels?
Well, again, I feel like I keep saying this, but it's a great question. And thank you for asking, because it's something I am very mindful of. My husband and I, our faith is very important to us. My husband and I are Catholic, and, our faith definitely guides us, and it's a part of our everyday decisions. But one thing I'm very mindful of, and actually, something that was shared with me years ago, specifically about Star Wars, but I take it into any part that I take on. But when it comes to Star Wars and my role as Ahsoka, Star Wars is a story that should bring people together. Mm-hmm. To me, it's a story of hope. It's a story of good overcoming evil. And it's something that, regardless of your religion or your race or your gender, it's something where, we should be able to all come together and enjoy this story of hope and enjoy this story of good overcoming evil. And yes, I absolutely see parallels in my own faith, but I think there's parallels for whatever your beliefs are. And what I try to do is provide a safe space where everyone can come together and learn these lessons of hope, and learn these lessons of, like you said, looking towards the light, letting the light guide you. For me, it boils down to so many universal things that you treat others as you want to be treated. The power of kindness, the power of, like I said, light. So it's something I'm mindful of. It's something I'm respectful of, especially since Star Wars is an entertainment property, and I want everyone, regardless of their views, to be able to enjoy it. But I feel my personal view of it is I want to do good with it. Mm-hmm. I personally, especially as an actress and my husband as an athlete, I know a lot of people say, well, I'm just an actress or I'm just an athlete. I don't want to be a role model. Mm-hmm. Well, whether you like it or not, if you're on a public platform, you're going to be a role model for people. Yeah. And it's something I take very, very seriously. And I can tell you, I have one rule for myself. I have to put my head on the pillow at night and fall asleep. And I can't sleep well if I know that I haven't given my all to do the right thing and be a positive reflection. And so for me, it's just my own personal rule. I have to sleep well at night. And in order to do that, I want to be a positive force.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I mean, I admit I've only come to the Clone Wars recently. Over the last few months, I've been watching it on Disney+. So I've been watching you through Ahsoka take that moral journey and everything. It's just the stories of courage and self-sacrifice. You're right. They are universal values that can be appreciated anywhere. But I think especially with kids, that message goes to kids, which kind of ties into your latest project, which is a little golden book, which I remember reading as a kid, and it's called Star Wars, I Am a Padawan. So what inspired the book, and what is the story about?
Well, I have to tell you, I grew up on little golden books. I literally learned to read on them. We had a giant bookcase at home and they were full of little golden books. And I would pick a different little golden book every night. And, it was just, it's a family memory. It's a memory, with my parents that I fondly look back on. So Lucasfilm actually called me and asked me if I would be interested in writing a little golden book for Ahsoka. And I think it's the fastest thing I've ever said yes to in my entire career. um, it's just truly bucket list level for me. So it's part of the I Am series for Star Wars and Little Golden Books. So they already have a series, I am a princess, I am a pilot, I am a droid. And I am a Padawan is about what it means to be a Padawan. And a Padawan is a student. So it's the story of Ahsoka and her time during the Clone Wars and the lessons she learned along her journey of being a Padawan. And so I went back and I kind of binge watched Clone Wars and I picked out my favorite moments and my favorite lessons. And, I really think kids and parents can relate to this story because even though these lessons happen in a galaxy far, far away, they're very relatable to kids and even adults today. They're lessons of bravery. They're lessons of helping each other. It's lessons of friendship. It's lessons of hope. And, I was just reading it the other day and they were great reminders for me, especially during this time. So, I hope that kids will like it and be able to relate it to their everyday lives.
Yeah. I mean, you've been playing Ahsoka now for, like I said, close to 15 years. When you play a character for that long, you've got to have like a real attachment to her. And with the Clone Wars finishing up, it's in its final season now, airing on Disney Plus. What are your feelings about that character as it seems to wind down, at least in the Clone Wars saga?
Yeah, a question a lot of people always ask me, they're like, well, what role did you play in originating this character? Because I feel like I won the lottery, getting the chance to originate a character in the Star Wars universe. I didn't write the stories for Ahsoka, but what they allowed me to do is they allowed me to bring not only my own voice to Ahsoka, but my own personality.
Mm-hmm.
In many ways I was cast as Ahsoka, not for my line reading, because it turns out they originally wanted her to have an Icelandic accent. And I just butchered an Icelandic accent. But I was cast for my attitude and my actions in between takes. They just liked my own personality, I guess. And so when I was cast, I was actually really confused because I'm like, wait a minute, I butchered the accent. Why was I cast? And they said, no, we actually want you to bring your own voice, but more importantly, bring your own personality to her. Dave Filoni said, when I asked him, I said, why me? He said, well, I felt that you were genuine. And he goes, I want you to bring your own genuine personality to the character. And so it's something I really keep in mind. I've been able to bring my own humor to the character, mm-hmm. my own emotion, my own kind of wit and wisdom to the character. So truly at this point, it's like, I'm not over exaggerating when I say Ahsoka is like a part of my heart and soul because I was allowed to bring my own heart and soul into this character. And she'll always be a part of me. I don't have kids, but it's almost like Ahsoka, is a baby of mine. I will always want what's best for her. No matter what. And so it's my hope, I feel that there's so many more stories to tell for Ahsoka. And it's my hope that we'll just continue to get more stories for Ahsoka. And I will always want what's best for her.
Yeah. All right. I know you have to run, so I just have one final quick question. I kind of referenced it before. The work we do reflects the motto, it's better to light a candle than to curse the darkness. When you hit times of darkness in your own life, how do you light that metaphorical candle to keep moving forward in a positive direction?
There is, at the beginning of each Clone Wars episode, they're what we call fortune cookies.
Uh-huh.
You know, they're little, they're actually little quotes and little lessons that actually the episode is about that particular lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And at the last episode, in season 5, which is the season 5 finale, the fortune cookie is, never give up hope, no matter how dark things seem. And, I always remember that fortune cookie, that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope. And I truly feel that Ahsoka represents that. She represents hope. So I actually ask myself almost on a daily basis, what would Ahsoka do? Because I feel like even in the darkest of times, Ahsoka would find that light. So I ask myself, what would Ahsoka do? And that provides me that little bit of light,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in the darkness, because it's always there. And, she guides me. And, trust me, I have really, really dark times too, but, you know, it's always, I always ask myself that question, and she always helps me find the light.
That is great. I'm Tony Rossi. You're listening to Christopher Close-Up. I've been talking to Ashley Eckstein. Her children's book is Star Wars, I Am a Padawan. She is the voice of Ahsoka Tano on the animated Star Wars series. You can see them on Disney+. And she's got to wrap up to run to another interview. So, Ashley, I just want to thank you for sharing your positive message with us today. It fit our theme so perfectly.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for your great questions and having me on your show. The Force is definitely strong with you.
Now, before we end today's show, here's a message the Christophers would like to share with you.
Love in the face of hatred is the most transformative concept the world has ever known. Where hatred causes only destruction, love has the power to build bridges between people and restore trust. That's why the Christophers have prepared a news note called Where There Is Hatred, Let Me Sow Love. It's filled with stories and insights to help you better live out Jesus' call to love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. To request your free copy of Where There Is Hatred, Let Me Sow Love, send an email to radio@christophers.org or call our toll-free number at 1-888-298-4050. That's 1-888-298-4050. We look forward to hearing from you.
In closing, I want to thank all our listeners for tuning in today, and I encourage you to visit our website at christophers.org to learn more about the Christophers and to download free literature and podcasts. When you're there, you can also find links to our blog and our Facebook and Twitter pages. And if you have any questions or comments about the show, you can send an email to radio@christophers.org. Our engineer for today's show is Brian Bonifacio, and I'm Tony Rossi, your host. Thanks again for joining us, and remember that it's better to light one candle than to curse the darkness.